let's speak to Professor Scott Lucas, who teaches international politics at the University of Birmingham in the UK, and he's also editor of EA Worldwide. Thanks so much for joining us, Professor Lucas. Now, I want to put this question to you. Trump referred to lots of differences of opinions between him and Rex Tillerson during the press conference. What exactly were they?
Well, there were differences at different levels. For example, Donald Trump was not very happy that Rex Tillerson referred to him last summer as a moron over some of the comments Trump made about Afghanistan and about America's nuclear arsenal. Trump also has been unhappy with Tillerson at times when Tillerson has talked about, as you've already noted, diplomacy with North Korea. Trump not being happy that the Secretary of State was taking the headlines. But I think you have to go beyond Trump here, and that is that there is a faction within the White House, which is around Donald Trump's son-in-law, Jared Kushner. And it's that faction that really wants to be in control of foreign policy. Kushner, for example, is already the Middle Eastern envoy. They want to be the faction in charge of how North Korea is handled. And they've seen Tillerson as being in the way. So last November, December, they tried to push Tillerson out. They didn't quite succeed. But I think they've gotten a hold of Trump in the past week and said now is the time to get rid of the Secretary of State. The only mystery is whether Trump decided on this last Friday, whether he decided on it only yesterday, and then suddenly decided to tweet about it this morning, catching everybody, including the Secretary of State, by surprise.
Okay, interesting. So it's been cooking for some time. Now, I want to ask you about the CIA Director, Mike Pompeo. He's, of course, to replace Tillerson. Do you anticipate a smooth nomination process and transition?
No, nothing smooth in the Trump administration. The confirmation process, he will be challenged by some Democrats who will question his skill for the job. He has really no diplomatic experience. He's raised questions over his handling of the CIA as to whether he's been more looking after the agency rather than looking after Donald Trump. But I think more importantly, Pompeo is likely to be confirmed, but the transition, no. I mean, let's lay out a couple of things. First thing is that 8 of the 9 top State Department posts are vacant now, after not only Rex Tillerson, but his Assistant Secretary of State for Public Diplomacy were fired today. There's a complete vacuum in terms of how the State Department is operating, with hundreds of personnel positions unfilled. Mike Pompeo has not aroused, let's say, trust in the staff that remain there. And most importantly, no one at the State Department trusts Donald Trump. When you have a president who is really questioning the effectiveness of his agencies, not just the State Department, but his intelligence agencies, why should you feel like your career is stable in this type of administration?
Okay. Now, you mentioned Pompeo has not aroused trust. So, what will he bring to the table for U.S. foreign policy? And particularly these 2 big issues on the table, the talks with the North Korean leader and, of course, the Iran nuclear deal.
What he brings first and foremost is he's a Trump loyalist. So if Donald Trump says jump, Mike Pompeo will say how high. Now, the question we now have is, all right, which way does Trump and the inner circle, including Jared Kushner, go on North Korea? Do they follow through in having these talks with Kim Jong-un? That's not assured. And I think more imminent now is the question of, are they really going to walk away from the Iran deal? Are they actually going to say, look, we're going to scrap this despite all the consequences that might entail? And if I could add one other as well, are they actually going to support further sanctions against Russia? Not only the congressional sanctions that have been held up for months and have not been approved, but further sanctions if Russia is found to be culpable in the attempted assassination of its former spy in southern England last week.
Absolutely, and there's not been much reaction from Trump on that spy incident in the UK. Okay, Professor Scott Lucas, we'll have to leave it there. Thank you so much for your analysis. That was Professor Scott Lucas from the University of Birmingham in the UK.